Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so is this young brother who's sitting to the left of your screen. This is singer, songwriter, musician, Andrew Slater, who actually doesn't live too far from me. I'm in Ohio, he's in PA, and he has just embarked on a great, exciting career. As you know, one of the things that we love about the EntreMusician is we have been able to touch legends, people who have gone on to do great things as musicians, as managers, as producers. And often what we like to do is come back to ground zero and get the perspective of those who are really just embarking on this career as EntreMusicians. And I tell you what, Andrew, he has a great album. He has an incredible bunch of videos. There's one in particular that I like that I posted on social media, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about his career. We'll talk about his mission. We'll talk about his vision. We'll talk about his challenges. We're just going to grill this brother. Okay. But this is Andrew Slater. Before we get into that though, I want to take this opportunity to just thank those of you who are watching us on Viz-D. Incredible family at Viz-D. If you have a Roku TV or Roku device, you're going to get some great quality content on the Viz-D channel. And we here at the EntreMusician are very happy that Brother Tay Brown and his team decided to take us on. And also, if you're watching around Northeastern Ohio, Western PA, you may be watching this program on the Armstrong cable network. And Greg Rotan, God bless him, he and his crew hooked us up to be able to be on Armstrong on channel 100. We're very, very grateful for the opportunity to join you here. Now, here's what I want you to do while you're watching, and we just decided that we're going to do this today. If you're watching here, I want you to email or text me. Okay, you can do it right now. If you're watching TV, if you're not on your phone, you can email me at theentremusician@gmail.com, or you can text me at the number on your screen, 330-718-JERE. And you can just say, hey, I'm watching from Viz-D or I'm watching from Armstrong. And what we're going to do is send you a download of a new tune that we're dropping. We're actually dropping this tune on Andrew's birthday on next Friday, the 3rd of April. That's right. And this is a great song that we were able to produce with a young man named Latency, bright young rapper on the come up. And the song is called Manhood. And we want you to get it first. So just type, hey, yo, I'm watching on Armstrong or I'm watching on Viz-D, and we'll make sure that you get that. Now, that's just some of the things that are happening behind the scenes at the EntreMusician, because if you went to the EntreMusician website and you click on the Backstage Pass, you can subscribe to become a member. And membership levels, there are 4 membership levels, but you can get in as low as $1 a month just to get you some exclusive access to different content. As a matter of fact, Andrew and I are going to be talking about some things that are not going to be a part of what you're watching right now. And that's going to be on the back end of the EntreMusician. And then we do all kinds of excellent things. We'll talk about that because Andrew himself is a member of the EntreMusician Mastermind. But that's what we want you to do. We want you to just text the number and just leave this up a couple more seconds in case you got to get to it and say, yo, I'm watching. Okay. That's what we want to do, and we want you on point here at the EntreMusician. So without further ado, I want to bring my brother back up on screen. This is Andrew Slater. What's happening, brother? How are you today, my friend?
Awesome. Awesome. Peace and blessings, as you always say, to you, Jerry.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So what's going on over in Western PA, man? What's happening with you over there?
Well, as I said, when I came on, it's a great day for tea, having my tea here, and gearing up for new release coming out tomorrow. I have a song called Through.
Yeah.
It's a folk acoustic driven song, really about looking back over the past year, kind of personally, and some of the changes, and the highs and lows that last year was. it's not really a song about the coronavirus pandemic by any means. I'm not like kind of putting it out there as that, but
Sure.
it definitely had to do with it. And so like just the theme of the song is just getting through and trusting God, to get you through everything that's going on. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. And yeah, so that's kind of the big thing, that, and meeting with you and the EntreMusician Mastermind group, as you mentioned, it's been awesome. And being a part of that has been really great too. So it's kind of what's going on over here.
That's excellent. One of the things I was going to ask is, how come you didn't drop Through on your birthday? Like, you got me dropping a song on your birthday, but you're not dropping a song. Something's happening.
I actually thought about it. It was kind of interesting because I was like, because I was looking at April, and I was like, well, I didn't want to do it on like Good Friday because I mean it's not really like an Easter song. Like I have another song called It Is Finished that we put out a year ago. That's really like it was perfect, like to put out as like an Easter song. Like right before Easter, we put it out, and it just talks about the finished work of the cross. Yeah, and it's really a worship song. And like this song's not really as a Christian theme to it, and it's kind of where like as an artist, I probably write like 80-90% of the songs I write are basically like from that perspective of like just being authentic and just going through life. And then maybe like 10% is like, like a song you'd maybe sing in church, sort of thing. But yeah, so this one really wasn't that. So I was like, I don't want to release the week of Easter. And I was like, I really didn't know. My wife usually surprises us with something on my birthday. So she's big in surprises. Those of you that know my wife. So I was like, I don't know if I should do it on my birthday because I don't know what'll be going on. My wife might be like, oh, we're taking a trip here. We're doing this. And so I was like, yeah, we'll do the week before. So yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's good. You can at least give it some energy, and because if you do not hearken to the voice of your wife, you're going to have different troubles.
That's it. Family first, right? So yeah.
Well, congratulations on Through, man. But I really do love the material that you have put out so far. And as you said before, most of your songs, as I understand and I'm absorbing the lyrics, are really about overcoming. You deal with things like depression and anxiety. You deal with, just the transparency of life. I mean, especially when you're writing from a faith-based perspective, it's not all, gumdrops and kaleidoscopes and hope, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've been able to really bring us to ground zero on what life is about, from the lens of a Christian young man, and saying, well, here's where we are, but here's where we're going. And this is who my hope is in. And so I congratulate you for your perspective, man. I love it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Thank you.
So tell me, in this whole journey of being an EntreMusician, as I said earlier, you and Dante are probably the youngest, and there's some age. But, as far as the amount of content from we have some great people sitting at the table, but this is your first foray, really diving head first into this career as an EntreMusician. What have you found to be, maybe one of your greatest challenges, like, as you got into the water?
Definitely learning like the marketing side of music. And I think that's the side where I've gleaned like so much from you, from your podcast. Really, I mean, if I can say like kind of sort of a mentorship that your podcasts are, with the things that you put out and the advice that you give. Just like from a practical standpoint, being like, Andrew, you need to buy this book by this guy, Ari Hairstan. And, just like absorbing the ideas in there, because really like my start in music, I was really like, started back in high school, middle school age. When I was a young kid, I really always wanted to get into music. And then just from that point and into my college years, I was part of a band 10, 15 years ago. We put out music, recorded an EP at Mud Hut Studios in Sharon, Pennsylvania, that we really enjoyed, gigged around the area, stuff like that. Just from a personal standpoint, went through, like in my college years, went through like some traumatic experiences and some things that kind of, it really impacted my life. And it kind of put a pause on like the whole, recording and releasing music. And so I was kind of out of that game. Back then it was like record CDs, burn CDs, send them out to these, radio stations, everything. And granted, there are still some radio stations that want physical CDs, but that's really not the way it works now. But over those years, over that period from when I was in this band, we're called Tobit, up until releasing my quote unquote debut album a year ago, just as Andrew Slater, I was always writing, always creative, and I was serving in music ministry in churches, and leading worship too, and playing electric guitar, lead guitar, things of that nature. But so from the marketing side of things, and even like when I was recording at Innovate Records up in Cortland with Jordan Beale was my producer on that album that we released a year ago. Like, we're just being creative and writing and recording, and that was the thing, and that's really kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But then it's like COVID hits, and then that's kind of changed the game in some ways too, where it's obviously not normal. It's kind of starting to get quote unquote normal, I guess.
Right.
But and kind of like navigating that, and then like realizing like, hey, like, oh, there's this whole other side of it, like pushing it out there. Like, it's just, so you have this music now, that's, you have these CDs, you have it on Spotify, you have it all over all these streaming sites. Now what do you do? And that's where I was like, man, Pastor Jerry at Victory, we had served at Victory for years and knew you from there. I want to go on a little rabbit trail here real quick. My wife and I's first date, and I told you that if you crack up about it, was actually a Sound Doctrine concert back in 2008. You guys and Michael Jr., the comedian, was at the Victory Christian Center. And that was my first ever quote unquote date. So yeah, so we go back way back. It was brilliant, dude. I was so like, love the sound. Anyway, I was like, man, like EntreMusician, I was like, I need to check this out. Like, this really, and just was like hooked and just gleaned so much from you, to where the point, like, I use IndieFlow now. You've had the people from IndieFlow on the podcast, and they're great, just for what I'm doing now. So like, but yeah, that marketing side of things is the place where it's kind of been the biggest challenge, and you're learning how to market yourself, because I mean, even like from a quote unquote Christian perspective, it's like, you don't want to like toot your own horn, but like, it's like coming at it from a humility standpoint. Like when I make a video or I talk about some music, it's for a message, it's to reach people and help people out. So it's like, it's a little bit outside of the comfort zone, because you're like, I just want to just write songs and create and play and do shows and lead worship. But then it's like, there's this whole other side. Like, you got to share that with people. Like, you don't hide that gift. Don't put that light under a bushel. You got to let that shine, and you got to bring that to people. So, yeah, so that's been the learning process, and the how-to you've helped with so much.
Well, I think
there's a lot to learn. There's a lot more to learn.
There is. And we're learning all the time. And I think one of the most important things about the Mastermind group is not only are we discussing topics that are relevant to us, but we're helping to encourage each other. We're all coming from kind of different points of view with respect to the genre of music that different of us produce or create, or, what like Dan, what he's doing with licensing and whatnot. So us being able to really, help Vance is probably the greatest encourager, but I won't go down that street. Here's what I will say though. And I think what's important about some of the things that you brought out, because of the perspective that you have, and especially because you're coming from the faith-based community. Here's the thing. There is a taboo about, well, don't toot your own horn. Don't, but you have this album out and someone has to know about it. And I think that we're moving through the ceiling that the quote unquote church is putting on, just stay in this corner over here and you're just loving Jesus. Yes, I am loving Jesus, but you're not buying a CD. So I got to move the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and so being able to do that and being able to do it in a way that is gracious, but keeps what God has given you before the people to help engage them in the solution that you've created. Because again, your music is an actual solution to a problem. Everybody's experiencing a degree of anxiety or stress, or like you said, the year that we just walked through, there are these components here, but here's how my faith helps me. And being able to say, this music will help.
Yeah. Right on.
Another component.
Right on. Yeah, it's like music is like a therapy too, you know, in so many ways. And I think that, you know, I struggled as a creative to be like, to get to this point where I'm like, to talk about pain or to talk about things that are, you know, that you're wrestling with. And ultimately, like you said, that perspective brings healing. But, you know, it's like to get to this point where I'm like, yeah, you know what, I shouldn't just sing just only positive songs. Like they are positive, but it's like you have to kind of present that and really be authentic. And it's like, you know, you hear it often said, like, if your music makes a difference to one person, and it's like, yes, but it's like that when you're creative and you're truly creating out of that place of authenticity, your music's making a difference to you. Yeah. And then it's like, so then it's like you've made it there, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So then it's like if it resonates with one other person, that's probably the most rewarding thing, is to get like a call from people, or people text and email and be like, man, like this song really touched me, and or that the album really touched me. It just blessed my life so much. You know, that's really, you know, where it's at. But yeah, music is it's really a therapy, and that's kind of like what I just love so much about it and the creative process.
No, you're absolutely right. I often think about King David, before he was King David, when he was just a shepherd boy and he was out with his harp and he was just writing these songs. I mean, just think about the 360-degree aspect of his creativity, because there were many times where he was just worshiping the Lord out there in the field, watching the sheep and protecting the sheep from the bears, the lions. And then there were some times he was encouraging his own soul as he was writing. But look at the impact of him being so transparent about his feelings, some of them lamenting, some of them worshipful. And here we are some 3,000 years later, and we still are able to glean from that transparency of that little shepherd boy. So music is incredible to me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he's that one that I go to. Like you talk about David, it's like that's the thing that comes to mind, is like that transparency, that authenticity. And it's like, man, you know, like just bring that to the table, you know, in everything that you do, and don't be ashamed, you know. That's
exactly right.
There's beauty in that. But
no, that's exactly right. Well, let me ask you a question. You know, we talked about the most challenging thing that you face as a younger EntreMusician coming up. What do you think was the easiest for you as you got into the slipstream?
I'd say the writing and arranging. It just, I mean, I have to give thanks, you know, to God, like first and foremost, because it's like sometimes you get into these moments where you're just singing, you know, maybe in worship, or you're just, you know, meditating on things, and these ideas just come and just flow. Mm-hmm. And you know, I really just thank God for that. You know, I have whole notebooks full of stuff, you know, and documents full of stuff. And that's where, you know, that's probably been the thing that's come the easiest and more my wheelhouse, is the songwriting and the, you know, arranging, in terms of like chord progressions and, you know, arranging verses, chorus, bridge, you know, just the whole songwriting process is probably the more my wheelhouse and what comes easiest for me.
I think that's 98% of the answers of most creatives, is that, you know, the music is always the first. And this is why the EntreMusician is so important, because you know, after you're out of the studio, after those great vibes are gone, you have to apply the business sense, the marketing sense of, okay, what do I do now? I had a great time in the studio, but
now what?
You know, what's next? Gee, honestly. So tell me about your beautiful wife and how she helps with regard to your musicianship or being an entre musician. I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. I'm asking for two reasons. Number one, because your first date was at a Sound Doctrine show, and that's cool. So I'm sure we had something to do with that. But but the second reason is, Lori and I just celebrated 26 years, and I made a video that I posted earlier about 5 things that I learned from our relationship that made me a better entre musician. Tell me about what it means to have someone who has your back in such an incredible way.
Yeah, well, I think like her kind of like her faith in God, it is inspiring. The way that she trusts the Lord and just her dedication to the Christian faith, and that's really her foundation. So I think finding somebody that's passionate about God and a wife and loves me is like a level one. That's right. Like, as if you're looking for a spouse or whatever, or in your spouse, like there's somebody that loves God first and loves you, like bang, okay, foundation, good. And so from there, like her faith in me and belief in me as a creative person, but also as like a worshiper. We have some times in worship that are just really amazing, and she just brings so much to the table there, not just with the encouragement, but pointing some things out. She helps with the songwriting process too. We wrote a song together called Warrior on my it's like a roots rock type sound that she co-wrote with me, and she wouldn't let me put her name on the album as a credit. She didn't want to so like, she's not getting any royalties or nothing.
What?
Going to the same she should be. Exactly. She needs to get on the EntreMusician. She needs to hear from everybody. But so she's helped with that, and we've worked on some other songs that will be coming down the pike here. But so I mean, she is a creative as well, but she really kind of has an analytical sort of mind on things, and so those are kind of the big ways that she's helped. But I mean, mainly the love and the encouragement, and pointing out maybe grammatical. If I sing a song or I show her a song and she's like, "Do you really want to say it that way?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." So she should get credit there too, but she don't want it. She refuses. But so well, but she's amazing. And then in church too, like in terms of like serving. If you go to a church service where I'm leading worship, she's more than likely, I want her involved. She often has things to share, in terms of like when we're before the Lord and we're singing worship, she often has some encouraging words. She kind of has a sort of like kind of preaching or teaching kind of gift, I'd say too. Mm-hmm. So, and that's one thing we really both love, like teach and admonish with psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. So like in a setting like that, and it's really, it's really kind of like my big love, but she adds to that in those moments to where I'll be the one doing the singing and doing the playing, and then she'll have a word, at the right time that can really just touch people too. So that's kind of another like practical way in terms of the blessing that she is. But
that's beautiful. Well, why don't you give a shout out to your church? What church are you leading worship at?
So I've been serving at Church of God in Newcastle. The Church of God out of Cleveland, Tennessee. I know there's a couple of different Church of Gods out there, but that's the denomination headquarters. And it's been great. It's a smaller congregation, so it's usually leading from acoustic guitar or piano. But that's where we've been serving. But
where do you write most, from the piano or from the guitar? Where does it come most naturally? Kind of equal?
Probably kind of both. I mean, the guitar was my first instrument, and like some songs I'll write on guitar, and then you make it a pianist driven song or vice versa. But it's probably half and half. Sometimes it does come easier on piano, which is weird because it's not it's not my first instrument. Right.
But you peck away, right? You do your thing.
That's it.
As it comes. Well, tell me
That's
about
it.
this video, man. You have the video. I need somebody, or I need
Yeah,
someone,
I need
and
someone. Yeah.
yeah, love it. So what was the concept, and how did that unfold?
Yeah. So that really unfolded through connections that Pastor Jordan Beal up at Cortland Rock of Grace. He produced the album that I released last year, Sunny Morning.
Mhm.
And he made some connections in terms of videographers. And so we set up a shoot to do a video for I Need Someone. It was a song that we both co-wrote,
Yeah.
that Jordan and I co-wrote. And yeah, the idea was run through the woods like you're like you're an escaped convict, like I don't know, like the movie The Fugitive, if
Right.
anybody knows that.
Right.
Great flick. And then like being set free. And yeah, and really, the concept of the song is feeling bound up, like feeling like you're in chains, and you're stuck in life. And so many of us can deal with that, even whether you're saved or unsaved. You could deal with feeling stuck in life, and really, that solution is Christ. But the decision, the neat thing that we had in the video was, and I thought it was kind of weird, but they're like, you're going to stand outside the car, and you're going to press the unlock button to get yourself out of this car that's locked and you're trapped in. But it's going to be you. We're not going to have somebody like dressed up as Jesus, or like it's going to be you. And so really, like the message we were trying to get across there is like, the decision is in your hands. Like ultimately, like you can decide, you have the power. And even like in the sense of being bound up, some people are bound up with unforgiveness.
Yeah.
The power is in your hands to forgive. It may not feel good at first, the feeling of freedom and forgiveness. It's a conscious decision that you make. There's a wise man from this church. He goes by the title of bishop, that he gave some wise words, that forgiveness is a choice. Mm-hmm. And then you'll feel better after the fact, but you have to make a conscious choice to forgive somebody, to step across the line. Absolutely. So the decision's in your hands, and it's a really neat video. So check it out if you want to go on my YouTube channel. You can go on Innovate Records YouTube channel and see it too. But
I'll link to it here. I'll link to it, here at in the show notes of this episode too, because I really dug it. I thought it was very creative. I thought you could go ahead and get in your acting gear and take it to the next level.
Yeah, I got a lot of feedback about the acting. They were like, oh man, they're like, Andrew, you might need to get into acting. You did really good there. I'm like, I don't know.
That's right. You get that beard. You can rock it.
So and the group too, I really want to give them the credit. I'm forgetting Mitch's last name. So it was directed by Mitch and Joel of Leap and Lemur is there. And I don't know, do you do editing? Is it okay to like Google or pull them up here?
We're not going to edit that out. Just say, yo, who are they and where are they? And
we'll give them a little bit credit too, because especially because like the vision for the music video, and like we talked everything through and everything, but the idea and the baby really came from Mitch at Leap and Lemur. And he does some amazing videography stuff. He's from Northeast Ohio, but he lives now in Georgia, so he's like back and forth all the time. But good Christian brother, good Christian creative, and Mitch and Joel from Leap and Lemur.
We'll definitely link to them in the show notes as well, to check them out, because you may be an EntreMusician out there. You check out Andrew's video and you could say, hey, yo, these guys, I can touch them, I can reach out to them, and let them hook you up also. Now that's an interesting segue, brother, because we think that we have to be in the game for 15, 20, 50 years before we can give advice to others. And that is not true. I mean, from the things that you've learned in the last couple of years, if there's somebody watching this episode right now and they say, wow, that EntreMusician thing, I have a guitar or I have a trumpet or whatever, and I really have some music on my DAW and I want to get it out. What advice? I can give advice. They can watch the podcast like you have suggested, but what truly from your lens, from your perspective, what advice would you give them?
I think one, we covered it already, like the authenticity, being your authentic self with your creative process. And then in finding good people to give you good advice, like we said, the EntreMusician, but IndieFlow has been amazing as well. Just learning the process, like I looking back, if there's something I would have done different, is like knowing, like, and gleaning your wisdom before going into recording my first album, recording Sunny Morning, because there's just so much to the music business. So you have to learn that marketing side of things, and and kind of that has to be kind of like half of your process there, in terms of like once you're ready to start putting music out there. But I know there's a lot of different places you can get into as far as getting music out there, like CD Baby and everything. But I really just love IndieFlow, just because they help you with good ideas on how to market your music, but then also with pushing it out there with distribution. So and then the publishing side of it. So they're like and knowing that too, and owning your own publishing, which is a whole nother discussion. That just watch an EntreMusician
that's right
podcast, or listen to the podcast on that. But just understanding the marketing of the music business is, I think, a big like square one before you start getting everything out.
No, you hit it on the head, man. That's absolutely great advice. So you heard it from Andrew Slater, who is an EntreMusician, bar none. He is an extraordinary songwriter, and we may see him on the silver screen one day for his acting as well. But Andrew, for this segment, brother, what was the question that you thought perhaps when we set this interview time up that I was going to ask you and I haven't asked? And you said, Jerry, I want Jerry to ask me this question. What is the answer to that unasked question?
I don't know. I don't really think there's anything that I really wasn't suspecting. I guess, we kind of talked about my background a little bit, but I think we kind of touched on basically everything.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. However, as after this segment is over and we sign off here, those who are members of the EntreMusician is going to get some real deep stuff from Andrew, because he's going to really share his heart about a few more things. But as far as we're concerned right here, we are EntreMusicians. We want you to join us. Come on in, click the backstage pass, and let's continue this journey, grow this community. That brother right there is 100% on point. I can't wait till Through drops, and then the other things that he has hiding in the vault. You keep your ears open, because Andrew is going to be a name that's going to be around for a while. Check him out, check his ministry out, check his artistry out, check his creativity out, and download his music immediately. That's Andrew Slater. He's an EntreMusician. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, but you know what? Here's what's important. So are you. So we will see you next time. Peace and blessings to you.